Hold on to your hats, folks. What's unfolding right now could reshape the global economy as we know it. The world of international trade is entering a period of high drama, and the stakes couldn't be higher. For decades, the United States and the European Union have been economic partners, trading everything from cars to cheese and building a relationship that's helped power the global marketplace. But now, storm clouds are gathering over the Atlantic, and the forecast is looking rough. International trade is about to get turbulent. Picture this: massive cargo ships braving choppy waters, stock markets on edge, and ports bustling with uncertainty. The very arteries of global commerce are under threat, and businesses on both sides of the ocean are bracing for impact. Investors are watching nervously as the world's two largest economies square off, and the ripple effects could reach every corner of the globe. The United States, under President Trump, is threatening a 25% tariff on cars imported from the European Union. This isn't just a headline. It's a move that could upend the auto industry, disrupt supply chains, and send shockwaves through international markets. American consumers could see higher prices at the dealership, while European car makers face the prospect of losing access to one of their biggest markets. The message from Washington is clear: it's time to play hardball. Unsurprisingly, this has landed like a lead balloon in Brussels, with Germany, France, and Denmark gearing up for a fight. European leaders are huddling in urgent meetings, strategizing their response and vowing to defend their industries. For countries like Germany, where car manufacturing is a cornerstone of the economy, these tariffs are seen as a direct attack. The EU is signaling that it won't back down without a fight, and the diplomatic temperature is rising fast. This isn't just a dry economic debate, it's a full-blown trade war brewing, and nobody wins in a trade war. The consequences could be severe: lost jobs, shuttered factories, and a slowdown in economic growth on both sides of the Atlantic. Businesses are already feeling the pressure, with executives scrambling to adapt and workers fearing for their livelihoods. The uncertainty is rattling markets and making headlines around the world. The EU sees these tariffs as a threat to their industries and economic stability, and they're not just going to sit back. European officials are preparing countermeasures, from retaliatory tariffs to legal challenges at the World Trade Organization. The stakes are enormous. Millions of jobs, billions in trade, and the future of transatlantic relations hang in the balance. The coming weeks could see a flurry of negotiations, threats, and high-stakes diplomacy as both sides try to avoid a full-scale economic conflict. So buckle up, because we're about to break down why this trade tiff could explode into a transatlantic trade war. We'll explore what's at stake for both sides, how this conflict could impact everyday people, and what the future might hold for the world's most important economic partnership. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing's for sure: the next chapter in US-EU relations is about to be written, and it's going to be a wild ride. To understand why the European Union is so deeply concerned right now, you have to look beyond the headlines and into the heart of its economy. The EU isn't just a political alliance, it's a vast economic powerhouse, and at the center of that engine is the car industry. Cars aren't just a way to get from point A to point B here. They're a symbol of European innovation, pride, and prosperity. The automotive sector is one of the EU's largest employers, supporting millions of jobs directly and indirectly. From the engineers designing the next generation of electric vehicles, to the workers on the assembly lines, to the small businesses supplying parts, the ripple effect of this industry is enormous. Germany in particular stands out as the beating heart of Europe's car industry. It's the birthplace of legendary brands like Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, names that are synonymous with quality and engineering excellence around the world. For Germany, exporting cars isn't just business, it's a national identity. The US is one of their biggest markets, and any threat to that relationship sends shockwaves through the entire German economy. The stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs, real people, real families, whose livelihoods depend on the success of these exports. No politician wants to be the one to face a crowd of angry auto workers and explain why their jobs are at risk. The social and political fallout could be massive. And it's not just Germany. France, with its own iconic brands like Peugeot, Citroën, and Renault, also has a lot to lose. While French automakers may not export as many cars to the US as their German counterparts, the impact of tariffs would still be felt across the industry. Every car that becomes harder to sell means less revenue, fewer jobs, and more uncertainty for workers and their families. Even smaller countries like Denmark, which has carved out a niche for itself with cutting-edge car design and a growing electric vehicle sector, could see their progress stalled. The Danish auto industry may be smaller, but it's dynamic and forward-thinking, and it too stands to lose from any disruption in trade. When you add it all up, these tariffs don't just threaten a few companies, they threaten the economic backbone of several EU countries. The car industry is woven into the fabric of Europe's economy, supporting everything from high-tech research to blue-collar jobs. So when the EU pushes back, it's not just about trade policy, it's about protecting a way of life, a source of national pride, and the livelihoods of millions. In this fight, the EU has a big shiny German-engineered dog and a whole lot more at stake. The EU isn't always united, but on these tariffs, there's rare solidarity. From Brussels to Berlin, people are angry and ready to push back. Polls show overwhelming support for retaliatory tariffs against the US. In Germany, France, and Denmark, public support for hitting back is especially high. Europeans are fed up with what they see as US bullying and are ready to defend their industries. Trump may have hoped to exploit EU divisions, but a common enemy is bringing them together. He may have underestimated just how unifying a trade threat can be. But let's not get carried away. EU unity is always complicated. Behind closed doors, disagreements and self-interest simmer. Trump will try to exploit these cracks, offering special deals to tempt countries to break ranks. Some nations might be tempted, while others will insist on standing firm. The real test? Can the EU maintain unity, or will internal divisions undermine their stand? The US economy isn't immune to the fallout from a trade war. While tariffs are often pitched as a way to protect American jobs and industries, the reality is far more complicated. When the US government imposes tariffs on imported goods, it sets off a chain reaction that can ripple through every corner of the economy, affecting not just businesses, but everyday Americans as well. Those German, French, and Danish cars Americans love? They're about to get pricier. Whether you're eyeing a sleek Mercedes, a sporty BMW, or a reliable Volvo, the sticker price is likely to jump. That's because tariffs directly increase the cost of importing these vehicles, and car companies almost always pass those costs on to consumers. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imports, and in the end, it's the consumer who ends up footing the bill. The price hikes don't just affect luxury cars either. Even mid-range and economy vehicles can see price increases, since many of their parts are sourced from overseas. Get ready for sticker shock on your next Audi or Volvo. For many families, that could mean putting off a new car purchase, settling for a used vehicle, or stretching their budgets even thinner. The impact is felt not just in showrooms, but in household finances across the country. But it's not just about car prices. The effects of tariffs go much deeper, reaching into the heart of American manufacturing. US car factories depend on a complex global supply chain, with parts and components coming from all over the world. Many US car manufacturers rely on European parts. Tariffs make those more expensive, raising production costs. When the cost of essential components goes up, American factories face tough choices: raise prices, cut costs elsewhere, or accept lower profits. That means higher prices or slimmer profits for American car companies. Some may even have to lay off workers or slow down production if they can't absorb the extra costs. The ripple effect can be felt throughout the industry, from factory floors to corporate boardrooms. And if the EU retaliates, US exports, from agriculture to machinery, could get hit hard. American farmers, who already face tight margins, could see their products slapped with tariffs in Europe, making them less competitive and threatening their livelihoods. For example, US soybeans, corn, and other crops could become too expensive for European buyers, leading to unsold harvests and financial stress for rural communities. The same goes for American-made machinery and technology, which could lose market share to foreign competitors. A trade war is a two-way street, and both sides can get run over. When countries start raising barriers against each other, it disrupts the flow of goods, raises prices, and creates uncertainty for businesses and consumers alike. Global supply chains are finely tuned systems, and even small disruptions can have big consequences. Delays at ports, shortages of key materials, and sudden price spikes can all result from escalating trade tensions. Trump may think he's protecting American industry, but he could be hurting it instead. The intention might be to boost domestic production, but the reality is that higher costs and lost export markets can do more harm than good. The risk? Triggering a global recession. When major economies start fighting over trade, financial markets react with volatility. Investors get nervous and growth slows down. The effects can quickly spread far beyond the auto industry. Tariffs might sound tough, but the economic pain could be widespread. Families could see higher prices on everything from cars to groceries, while small businesses struggle to keep up with rising costs and shrinking demand. In the end, nobody wins. Trade wars create more problems than they solve, leaving businesses, workers, and families on both sides of the Atlantic worse off than before. This isn't the first time we've seen a US-EU trade spat. Remember 2018? Trump slapped tariffs on EU steel and aluminum, and the EU hit back with tariffs on Harley-Davidson, Bourbon, and Levi's. The result? Higher prices, business uncertainty, and bad blood. The core trade issues? Still unresolved. Tariffs are a blunt tool that often cause more harm than good. History shows trade wars rarely achieve their goals. So what's next in this transatlantic standoff? Scenario 1. Trump uses tariffs as leverage, hoping to extract concessions from the EU. Scenario 2. He doubles down, escalating the trade war and targeting more industries. Scenario 3. Both sides come to their senses, sit down, and negotiate a solution. Compromise is tough, but not impossible. The outcome depends on whether leaders choose brinkmanship or dialogue. The stakes? Billions of dollars and the future of global trade. The world is watching. This isn't just a US-EU affair. The world is watching closely. China, having faced its own trade battles with Trump, is both amused and concerned. A US-EU trade war could ripple through the global economy. Other countries may seize the chance to forge new trade deals. This dispute is a symptom of a shifting world order. What's next for US-EU trade? The future is murky. The outcome depends on Trump's unpredictability, EU resolve, and global reactions. A trade war would hurt businesses, cost jobs, and damage the global economy. The best hope cooler heads prevail, and both sides negotiate. They could address trade issues and strengthen economic ties. The worst case? More tariffs, more anger, and a battered global economy. Let's hope common sense wins, because the world's economy may depend on it.